Hello again, I'm back to my regular Age of Empires challenges. I hope people enjoyed my last Hollow Knight video, but for now I'm back to my regular content. And this is really going back to my most basic run, taking a civ with a near singular identity and removing it, like I did removing cavalry from Franks. This time it's removing infantry from Goths. It's one of the most frequently requested things, ever since my first challenge video. The Goth campaign follows Alaric in his wars for and against the Romans. It is overall a very easy campaign, and only 5 levels, so let's see if removing the infantry line is enough to make it a real challenge. The first level is quite simple, and is a battle between the two halves of the divided Roman Empire. I need to delete my starting men-at-arms and build up my economy to be ready for incoming attacks. Alaric is one of the auxiliary forces supporting the Eastern Romans, and to win we need to take out the Western Romans. We also get a Hun ally, and they have General Arbogast as a Frank ally. The level has some other things you can do to get boosts, but they are all infantry focused, so I can't use them. I gather up some sheep and train more villagers so that I can make an army. I'm restricted to the Castle Age, and in the Castle Age, Goths have fully upgraded knights, so that will be my army for this level. The first attack takes a few minutes to arrive, which is a little bad having deleted my starting army, but they focus on the Romans, who can withstand the attack without much trouble. To keep this going, I build some palisade walls to funnel the enemy armies toward my ally. By the time of the third attack, I have enough knights that I can help out. I do need to keep my ally from being defeated, otherwise I will lose. They certainly need my help, as even with it they're starting to get overrun. I can keep helping to defend, but I want to be able to take my army on the attack, so I build a castle for defense. Once it is up, and I have more knights, I can go on the offensive. The enemy has some defensive castles and towers, so I train a few battering rams and send my cavalry to destroy Arbogast's forward base in the south. It goes down without much trouble, and I can go ahead and complete my side objective. I need to destroy the Frank town center, so I head over toward their castle, while my allies keep running attacks that keep the Western Romans busy. My rams make short work of the castle, and I can move on to the rest of the town. Arbogast doesn't have much of anything to defend with, and I bring down the town center. That causes him to resign, and I can focus on the enemy fortress. Like I mentioned earlier, there is an extra mission to this level, and I complete it by getting the second relic, but all it gives me is a useless perfusion technology. I've got enough knights that I can pretty easily roll right through their walls and take out the production buildings, while my rams move further in. The rams batter down the castle, winning me the level. That wasn't very hard. As usually happens in these challenges, once I have a good economy, there isn't much my army can't overcome, even if the units are garbage. In this case, my units were pretty good too. How levels begin matters, but for this one I had an ally to hide behind, so the loss of my starting men barely mattered. That is not the case for the next level. The second level is one where I don't get an economy, and I have to get by with just the buildings I have and the help I can find along the way. I start with a powerful army of Huscarls and Longswordsmen that all have to be deleted, leaving me with nothing. I have very limited resources and only feudal age upgrades. I figure the best thing to go for when I have such limited resources will be cavalry archers, even though I can't get Thumb Ring. They won't be the strongest, but they should at least be able to have decent value trades. To win the level, I need to conquer the Greek cities by destroying their town centers, like in Manzikert, but also with major attacks coming in toward my buildings by the Romans. Once I have my 10 cavalry archers with bodkin and 2 knights in case of any skirmishers, I head out and kill the Roman defenders' cataphracts that are blocking my way to Sparta. The fight is fine and I only take a little damage. Before pushing further south, I explore a bit and find the conscription tech in some ruins. That's pretty nice, but I run into more Roman defenders, this time in much higher numbers. While trying to fight them, the main Roman army approaches and I have to fight both at once. I get cornered up in the cliffs and have to restart. I start by deleting all my infantry again, and this time I'm going to try for crossbows. They are less affected by missing Thumb Ring and have longer range. They do fine up against the cataphracts, and I can even heal them in my tower, although it might not be worth the time it takes. I grab conscription again, but this time I'm just going to wait for the first Roman attack. My men do a good job of killing the units, but the rams are another story. I have to train a few scouts with my last bit of food to take out the rams. I try to attack Sparta before the second wave arrives, but they have defensive towers that would wipe out my crossbows before they could take down the gate. The next wave arrives before I can figure out what I'm going to do. I try to run around and find a better angle, but run right into the third attack and lose. There is so little time between attacks, this is going to be very hard. The thing that stopped my progress seemed to be archers failing to destroy defenses, so this time I'll try with knights. I can get them armor and have enough resources for 8 of them. I ride down to attack Sparta before even the first wave arrives, figuring that I have no shot at saving my buildings. Using one knight to distract the towers while the others tear down the gate works pretty well. Fortunately, there aren't any defenders that come to stop the attack. Unfortunately, the second the gate is down, a bunch of pikes come out to fight and kill all my knights, just as the attack on my camp begins. Doing this with so few units might be impossible, but I won't give up yet. Attempt number 4 begins with a new strategy. I've been avoiding siege weapons due to their high cost, and my already low unit numbers, but this time I'll go for a ram with my knights. If I can distract the defenders with my knights, the ram might have enough time to take down the town center. At least, that's what I was thinking, but I didn't think about it enough and let the ram pull the tower fire. It kept my knights safe, but lost a ton of health in the process. Once through the gate, my knights are able to distract and fight most of the enemy army, but one of them locks onto the weakened ram and kills it. My knights finish off the defenders, but I only have one left. I spend some time dodging TC arrows while trying to take it down, but the Romans eventually show up and kill him. That attempt failed, but it's looking more achievable. I'm going to try the same units to see if better micro will be enough. In my last AoE 2 video, people in the comments told me how to increase the game speed even further, so that helps the initial unit training go by quickly. This time I distracted the knights to preserve the ram health successfully, but fumble the knight micro and lose them all to the pikes. The ram doesn't even reach the town center. Attempt 6 goes much the same, with the ram getting caught out of position. It might be doable with knights, but I'm going back to trying new things. For attempt 7, I go back to my original cavalry archers, this time with a ram though. I'm able to get bodkin and husbandry for 11 of them and clear the way to Sparta's walls. The cav archers will be able to do almost nothing to the town center, so I need to keep the ram's health high. I use the cavalry to distract the towers while the ram takes down the gate. They lose a fair amount of health doing it, but the gate goes down. This time I have a much better unit to deal with the infantry and knights defending the city. I clear them all out without even taking any damage, and head back through the gate with my ram. This time there is nothing to kill my ram while it smashes the town center. The only downside is that while this has been happening, my original base and production buildings have all been wiped out by the Roman army. They reach Sparta and kill my ram, but only after it manages to get the last hit off, destroying the TC, and my cav archers are able to kill them all. After losing their town center, Sparta tributes me some resources and becomes my ally. More importantly, I gain control of a few of their production buildings in the south, so I can replenish my losses. They also have a university, so I can grab ballistics. I decide to switch back to crossbows, particularly for their lower cost and for their longer range. Unfortunately, I've lost my blacksmith and have no way to get the archer armor, so I'll just have to pretend I'm Burmese and work around it. I also train a few scouts to handle any rams that approach. The Spartans will continue to work and they will periodically tribute me resources, so I'm out of the complete limitations of the beginning of the game. My resources increase extremely slowly, but if I can wait out the enemy, I will be able to grow. That lends itself back to my original idea of archers for their resource value, and I train as many as I can. Even missing 2 upgrades, I think archers will serve my limitations better than cavalry would. As a first test of my plan, the Romans launch an assault on the eastern gate, but I can fend it off easily. Now it's time to play defense while my resources build up. I have enough archers to defeat any attack that comes in, and can fast forward until the next attack arrives, all while building up my archer numbers. Once I have enough crossbows to hold the defense, I send my light cavalry and cav archers to clear out the Roman defenders and their tower. They clear out the men without much trouble, but die to the tower. Now that I've got solid defense and income, I can think about my next moves. I'll need to clear out the rest of the Greek cities, which will also increase my income. To break into Argos, I need to go through the gate, and this time I don't have a siege workshop. I send my cavalry archers in to shoot it down where they can be just out of range of their towers. It will take some time, but that just lets me start training up the knights that I will use to destroy the town center. Knights are expensive and take a long time to be able to afford. Conveniently, for this level, I'm given an indestructible market with consistent trading rates, so I can pretty effectively balance my economy. The Romans just keep feeding armies into my archers, and I wait until I have 24 knights before I head out. Argos has no defenders left, but they do have a second gate that I need to destroy. I do lose a couple of my knights breaking through, but I still have plenty to destroy the town center. That about doubles my resource income and gives me another stable to train from. The Corinth garrison immediately goes on the attack and tries to push me out of Argos, so it's a good thing I trained such a formidable group of knights. Most of the Roman attacks come through Corinth, so my archers can post up outside their gate to catch any troops coming through. There is still the Roman castle in the middle of the map though, and I will need to train a lot of knights if I'm going to bring it down. I charge in with 42 knights and they clear out the siege workshop and barracks. They probably wouldn't be enough to bring down the castle, but I can use a group of them to distract the castle's shots while the rest destroy it. I lose most of my knights, but there are still enough to tank the tower fire while my crossbows come in from behind and shoot down Corinth's first gate. I don't have enough knights to get through the second gate though, so I need to train a new army. I would have needed to take out the town center anyway, so it's not a great loss. My next wave conquers Corinth and gets me even more resources. The big advantage with Corinth is that they give me a siege workshop so I can make rams again. The Corinth markets are still held by Roman defenders, so I send my knights there while my archers hold the causeway to the north. My knights clear out the defenders while my rams take down the towers. With the markets freed, Corinth will tribute more gold and start up a trade route with the last city of Athens. The trade carts will open the gates into Athens, which let my knights in without needing to fight through the second gate. The Athens town center falls, giving me control of the final Greek city. The objective changes to destroying the Roman fort in the mountains, but that shouldn't be too hard. There is one last side objective where I need to clear out the Romans from the northern gold mines, which is pretty easy and further secures my resource income. I have the rams, my knights, and my archers all ready to storm the enemy base. None of them have all their upgrades, but at this point it doesn't really matter. The enemy can't stand up to my arrow fire, which gives the rams the time they need to take down the towers and castle, while my knights ride in and destroy their town center, winning me the level. Whew, that was a tough level. None of my units were fully upgraded, and at least for the beginning I was extremely restricted. The solution seems pretty obvious looking back, but I guess it took me a lot of tries to figure out how to get past the opening of the level. It took the most tries of any level that I've done challenges of, but in the end it was still doable. The third level is pretty different, and by that I mean extremely easy. I have a strong ally that will make attacks on the Roman cities that I need to take care of, and I get a ton of time to build up before anything happens. I have some infantry to delete, but they aren't a major loss, and I can build some more town centers to boom up. In this level I can reach the Imperial Age for the first time, which changes my unit dynamics a little bit. My crossbows fall off without having the arbalest upgrade, and my knights are no longer fully upgradable. Due to it being way too far in the past in this campaign, I can't use hand cannoneers, so the only ranged unit I get that's fully upgraded are my skirmishers. In fact, that's the only unit I can get fully upgraded in this whole challenge. I'll go for some skirmishers, at least to hold out for a little while. Then again, skirms have a very low attack, and I'm going to run up against huscarls and knights later, so I need something that hits a little harder. Goths don't get siege engineers, but scorpions could do the trick. They're so much nicer to use now that they get ballistics. I can mess around with other units like this during this level because of how safe I am and how strong my ally is. Ataulf begins his attacks on Aquileia, and I think if I left him long enough, he could probably win the whole level for me. Not much happens until I reach the Imperial Age, and when the first attacks finally come in, I use a bunch of heavy scorpions to crush them. Cremona throws everything they have at me, but it's not enough. I get more scorpions and train hussars to defend in front of them, with some trebuchets behind to take down the defenses. I use the trebs to take down Cremona's castle and can easily push in past their walls. When their town center falls, they surrender. While I was fighting them, Ataulf made it halfway through Aquileia, and I can finish them off without much difficulty. After that, the Romans are willing to negotiate, so I send a scout over to Ravenna, but as he is passing Saurus, another Gothic auxiliary, he is killed. Now I have to defeat Saurus, with the most annoying part being how far away he is. I have to roll all the way there with my slow scorpions, but once they arrive, they are unstoppable. This time I'm fighting with my ally, so we are even stronger than before. Saurus has some strong fortifications, but they go down pretty easily to my trebuchets. His resigning wins me the level. From one easy level to another, it's time to sack the city of Rome. This is a pretty iconic level, and probably the one I remember best from the campaign, but it's also incredibly easy. Your base never gets attacked, and this time you get 2 strong allies. I don't think it's even possible to lose this level, and you could just go AFK for a few hours if you wanted, leaving all the destruction to your allies. I do have to delete my starting army, but that just helps with my pop space. I do need to complete it though, so I make a couple of town centers and start training up my villagers. With the winding streets in Rome, I'm going to go for cavalry archers, so I set down some ranges. I use the cav archers to fight my way through to my first ally and get the Visigoths fighting. I pivot to the other side to get Ataulf to start fighting as well. With them activated, I can start my own attack. To win, we need to take out the 12 castles, and the first one is right in front of my own castle, where my trebs can hit it. When a castle falls, I get the production buildings surrounding it, which helps to snowball even faster through the city. There isn't really a whole lot more to say about the level. I barely lose any cavalry archers cutting through the garrison, and my trebs do a good job of taking down the castles. I end up adding cavaliers to resist arrow fire a little better and complete the level without any issues. Alright, the last 2 levels weren't a challenge at all, but at least the final level is serious. The Goths are heading over to Gaul, where they will carve out a new kingdom for themselves. I start by deleting my infantry, leaving me with just a few villagers and a scout. We cross the river and find some ruins to take control of while my villagers build a town center. I need to build up quickly as I am severely outnumbered in this level. There are 3 cities I need to conquer and build a castle in. There is a Roman army that is holding back for now, and there is our old enemy Saurus, who will become the most powerful opponent. I build 2 TCs and gather as much stone as I can. I build a defensive castle and a stable to prepare for the incoming attacks. I only just get them up before Narbo shows up to attack. I need to bait them all into my castle and TC range to kill. I win the fight and get some palisades up to funnel the attacks into my castle, then build a second castle to further improve our defense. Attacks from Valentia, Narbo, and Saurus come in all at the same time, and my knights have to ride in circles to distract them, but the defense holds. Tolosa attacks as well, with the major threat of their trebuchets. I send one of my villagers back across the river to build some houses. With attacks this heavy, I build a third castle to try and defend better, but the construction is stopped by another wave. It's too much and I lose one of my castles, and the next attack arrives before I can even finish that one off. Things are looking pretty bad here, and after a little while defending, my base is totally overrun. But all is not lost. I still have one villager in the corner, and I have him build a new town center. Narbo has a navy, but I think they are the only one, so I should be relatively secure. I totally give up on my base, and just train more villagers, and get them cutting down the few trees that I have access to. The enemy galleons can shoot down the houses I have near the shore, but it's slow enough for me to train more villagers. I take some of them and sneak around the galleons to a place where I can build another castle on the shore. It makes short work of the navy. With my coast safe, I build a dock and start training up my own navy. Once I have 10 galleons and 2 dromons, I head out. Saurus has built up on an island in the middle of the map, but he has no navy, so I should be able to do some serious damage. My dromons can outrange the towers, and I only have to deal with the occasional onager that tries to stop them. They have 2 castles in range of the river, and after training some more dromons, I can take them down, along with a bunch of towers and multiple TCs. All pretty good to weaken Saurus. Unfortunately, he just goes ahead and rebuilds most things without much delay. I don't think I can defeat him with just my navy, so I will need to try something else. Saurus will resign if he is killed, so maybe I can just reach him. To do that, I train up 20 cavaliers and load them into a transport ship. I want to find Saurus, bait him to the coast, and kill him with my ships. When I land though, he's deep in the base and there are huge numbers of enemy infantry protecting him. I have to pull back to my ship and figure something else out. I go ahead and bring down the Valentia castle while I wait. And then one of Saurus's rebuilt castles. I try to use some of the cavalry to bait the army away, then charge in, but I fumble it and get caught out by powerful Gothic infantry. I keep trying to kill things on the shore, but Saurus seems to be too strong, so I'm going to try something else. I replenish all of my naval losses and instead head south towards Narbo. They have some towers along the coast that I can shoot down with my dromons, which draws their navy out. I have enough galleons to defend though and can slowly approach their docks. I manage to destroy the docks, giving me full control of the water. From within their little harbor here, I can reach their town center and destroy it, along with 2 of their stables and a siege workshop. That's all that I can reach from the water, but unlike Saurus, Narbo won't rebuild any of their lost buildings, so the damage is permanent. They only have so many units created, and if I can take down their production buildings, I should be able to defeat them, so I fill another transport ship with cavaliers. While waiting for the cavalry to train, I send my ships back to keep Saurus occupied. They destroy another castle, and while firing, happen to find Saurus himself. I don't know what made him leave the more protected middle this time, but I have all my ships fire on him. It takes a while with how high his health and armor are, but when he eventually dies, his whole base gives up and all their production buildings collapse. That's one enemy, and the strongest enemy, down. By now, my cavalry are ready to ride into Narbo. I managed to take down just 1 archery range before they're all killed, so I'll need a more substantial army to win. This time I go for 40 cavalier and a trebuchet, and I let them fight the enemy units instead of just riding right for the production buildings. I finish off all those buildings and use my treb to take down the rest of the towers. By the end, I've lost most of my cavalry, but have control of Narbo. Now, I could take this opportunity to complete my objective and build a castle here, but that would trigger the Roman army to join the fight, so I'll hold off for now and just wall in the gates leading into the city. I leave the market alive and set up my own trade route, just so that I can keep my resources coming in to train up a new army, this time mostly cavalry archers. Once I have a large group of cav archers, cavaliers, and trebs, I sail north towards Valentia and go on the attack. With the exception of a few scorpions, none of their units are ranged, so my cavalry archers make short work of them, including the very weak Celtic paladins. They have a ton of towers to work through, and their production buildings are deep in their base, so it takes a little bit longer to conquer the city, but I do complete it. With Valentia finished, there's just one more to go. I move the army to Tolosa, and they ride out to try and stop me. They have Frank paladins, which are much stronger, but there's not nearly enough of them to put a dent in my cavalry archers. Tolosa goes down to my trebuchets, and things are nearly finished. I send my villagers to each of the 3 cities and have them start building castles, while I have my army move to the southwest and begin attacking the Roman fortress. They love making these mountain fortresses, but they never seem to actually work out for them. I technically don't even need to fight the Romans, I just need all 3 castles up. But I make it through half their base before my builders are even finished. That completes the final level, and the challenge. For the first time in one of these challenges, my island escape plan actually worked. I don't like falling back on it, but I'm glad it wasn't a waste of time this go around. The challenge overall was pretty easy. In Castle Age, Goths have access to fully upgraded knights, and in Imperial Age, the Cavalier and Cav Archers do well enough even without all the upgrades. It is a challenge I can count as a complete success, even with the very hard second level. Only the second and last levels were any real challenge, but it was still a fun time. This is the first campaign challenge I did of a campaign that I don't actually remember super well, partially because it isn't as memorable, and partially because it was different back in the HD version of the game. The most memorable memorable level for me is the 4th one, but it's so easy it's barely worth talking about. Please let me know which campaign you'd like me to do next. While these simple unit restriction challenges felt pretty serious back when I started, now they usually feel pretty easy, except in cases where the normal level has an extreme restriction, like in the second one here. I think I'll be trying to come up with harder challenges going forward, unless I'm looking for a break at some point. Thank you for watching. As I'm writing this, the Hollow Knight video isn't out yet, so I don't know how well it was received. For all I know, it got like 10 views and no one cares, or maybe thousands. So for now, I can't say whether I will keep doing other new games in the near future, or hold off for now and just keep doing Age of Empires. What I can say is that my next video will be another Age of Empires challenge, so keep on the lookout for that, and I hope to see you back here next time. Have a good one.